Hey everybody, it's Professor Snart checking in here. Okay, so this is my first kind of like unit video that I'll do for each of the units that we work through throughout our course, and I will look at each of them individually. Okay, each of the units individually and then the assignments within the units. So I have it set up when you see like a lot of columns for Unit 1, and then also Unit 2 has quite a few of them. So I am going to work us through just our Unit 1 here and post that within a new column that you'll see once I create it. So just a reminder, right, to make sure that everybody has already looked at our general course info. There's a general orientation video here, kind of the typical stuff that you would see in a syllabus or as part of like an overall, first day kind of a deal. My simple contact info, my email, the access that will actually get you to write all of the work for the class, the syllabus itself, overview of due dates, keeping in mind that we work through our due dates pretty systematically. All the work that's assigned for every unit is due by that first due date, and then we have that second one for sort of like reply comment when that kind of a thing is assigned. Grading guidelines is really important, so since most of our work will be happening within Padlet, what am I looking for? What constitutes sort of like A-level or, above and beyond type of work versus, kind of grades below that. And then, of course, access to your grades is back in Blackboard, and then a quick little thing about using Padlet itself, which I think people will get hopefully used to as we work through each of these assignments. So we have our Introduce Yourself assignment. I did a little dorky video one here just to show you what the video looks like. Obviously, don't forget the reply or the I guess technically the comment tool here to reply to classmates. Just a friendly way to get to know one another as we get started. Make sure that you've done the reading assignment here. We're not really going to work with these particular poems in a really direct way like we would in a normal unit. You'll actually see these are more like poems about poetry, and the last two are kind of feeding into the theme for this intro unit. Like what's the place of poetry in our personal and public lives? And these are very, very public moments where these two poets, Elizabeth Alexander, writes and reads a poem during the inauguration of President Obama. And then this one, many people will have maybe seen recently. Amanda Gorman writes and reads her poem called The Hill We Climb for Biden's inauguration. So again, it's like not a political statement that I'm trying to make. It's more like these very public, big moments are marked by poetry, as are many of our private or like personal moments in life. So we often think of poetry as kind of this marginal thing. If you ask the average person, they don't really read, write, or interact with it. But I'm going to argue that it's actually all around us all the time. So that's really what our first or our main content assignment for this unit is, the Poetry Nowhere or Poetry Everywhere assignment, remembering, right, that both of these things are due on that first due date. So again, don't let the column setup and the multiple due dates throw you for a loop. So there's a little bit more to this assignment here, so it's embedded as a document that we'll just take a look at together. So this is kind of what I was just saying. The text here is about how poetry, even if you ask the common, your neighbors, for example, even friends, unless they happen to be like interested in poetry and you already know that, most people don't really connect with it or relate with it. So it feels sort of marginal, right? This flies under the radar. But again, it marks so many big public moments. We almost always find it in our private moments or personal moments too, whether it's happy things like birthdays or weddings, sadder, more melancholy things like funerals, for example. You will find poetry all through those kinds of events, whether it's people writing it and sharing it, or, greeting cards or sort of like programs that you would see at a wedding. There's almost always going to be lines of verse that you'll find or poetry that you'll find as well. So your assignment here is to use our Google column to document poetry that is really hiding there in plain sight. So this is a good one to do on your phone, so you can do it mobily. So you have your phone. If you want to download the Padlet app, it makes it a little bit easier, though you don't have to. You can take a picture in real time as you discover something that you can argue, make the argument in your Padlet post that you think is poetry. And again, like the assignment says, obviously you're not just like Googling a picture or something that you're going to find. You have to actually find this in your real life. And remember, we're looking for poetry, not just something that's poetic, like it's a beautiful scene or whatever. It has to be actual text, actual words that you think are intentionally arranged in some sort of physical or digital space. So there actually seems to be some intentionality when it comes to like the line breaks. So it's not just prose that you discover out there in the world. And there seems to be some like literary element to it. It could be fun. It doesn't have to be serious. Is there rhyme? Is there like a rhythm to it? Is there wordplay? Is it sort of like funny in that way? Again, advertising is often takes the form of poetry. It doesn't present itself that way, but that's actually what it is, right? It's language that's very intentionally chosen, intentionally arranged in terms of graphic design, and it's obviously designed to have a really compelling impact on us as the reader or the viewer of that thing. So look around you for signs, for advertising. If you're in sort of like commercial places, the coffee shop, whatever, look for text that's all around you that you can make the argument is functioning as poetry, even if it's not technically presenting itself that way. So remember, it has to be words. There has to be some sort of like visual arrangement to it. And you have to do the explaining in your Padlet post of what's going on. What are the literary devices? Why do you think this constitutes poetry? And so what I think we're going to discover as we populate our column here with more posts is that poetry, as actual words arranged in some space, even though we think of it as kind of like just to be found in your English textbook or a book of poetry, is actually all around us all the time. We just have to kind of like reconfigure our eye to find it everywhere. That's the other thing, of course. Don't pull out your poetry book from the shelf and say, oh, here's poetry. I mean, we already know that it's there. We want to find it in these other places. It's both, we think, nowhere, but it's actually, I think we're going to discover, everywhere. So this will be a really fun assignment just to get us going in our poetry class, introducing ourselves to one another so we begin to form that sense of class community, but also thinking about poetry as not just this one thing that you do that's connected with like English 1152 at COD, but it's actually all over the place, everywhere around us, almost all the time, truthfully. Really fun comment and reply piece here, right? Oops, sorry. That we'll do. It's actually built into the assignment here. But again, it'll be great for you to discover what your classmates have found and use that comment tool in Padlet to reply/comment on at least 2 other of your classmates' posts. You can always do more if you like. And you'll notice that our thing is set up where you can like heart lots of stuff. So feel free to do that as well. That clearly doesn't count as a reply, but if you find a whole bunch of cool ones, you'll do your main replies for at least 2. But if you want to kind of flag some others as really interesting, go for that as well. Again, one of the benefits of maybe signing up for the free Padlet account is that it automatically tags all of your activity in Padlet with your username, so you don't have to always remember to like add that. If you don't get the account though, remember to add your name so I know who has done what for grading purposes. Okay, so this will be our first unit, right? Diving into Padlet, getting our feet wet with our course, and then we will carry on from there. So if you have any questions kind of about general course material or course policies or like setup or whatever, be in touch with me. If you have questions about particular assignments, be in touch with me. And again, otherwise, have fun getting used to Padlet. Find out the tools, the things that it allows you to do in this really dynamic way. And of course, be a little bit careful about posting in the right column and replying correctly to the right particular post in the right place. I think everyone will get the hang of it once we get through. Even just Unit 1 should be enough to get us rolling. Okay, I'll talk with everybody soon.